Saint Augustine commentary on the Gospel of John, chapter 2, verse 1 to 4 following. In my opinion, brethren, we have answered the heretics. Let us now answer the astrologers. And how do they attempt to prove that Jesus was under fate? Because, say they, himself said, my hour is not yet come. Therefore we believe him. And if he had said, I have no hour, we would have excluded the astrologers. But behold, say they, he said, my hour is not yet come. If then he had said, I have no hour, the astrologers would have been shut out, and would have no ground for their slander. But now that he said, my hour is not yet come, how can we contradict his own words? It's wonderful that the astrologers, by believing Christ's words, endeavor to convince Christians that Christ lived under an hour of fate. Well, let them believe Christ when he says, I have power to lay down my life and to take it up again. No man takes it from me, but I lay it down to myself and I take it again. John chapter 10, verse 18. Is this power then under fate? Let them show us a man who has it in his power when to die, how long to live. This they can never do. Let them therefore believe God when he says, I have power to lay down my life and to take it up again. And let them inquire why it was said, my hour is not yet come. And let them not, because of these words, be imposing fate on the Maker of heaven, the Creator and ruler of the stars. For even if fate were from the stars, the Maker of the stars could not be subject to their destiny. Moreover, not only Christ had not what you call fate, but not even have you or I, or he there, or any human being whatsoever. Nevertheless, being deceived, they deceive others, and propound fallacies to men. They lay snares to catch men, and that too in the open streets. They who spread nets to catch wild beasts even do it in woods and desert places. How miserably vain are men, for catching whom the net is spread in the forum. When men sell themselves to men, they receive money. But these give money in order to sell themselves to vanities. For they go in to an astrologer to buy themselves masters such as the astrologer is pleased to give them, be it Saturn, Jupiter, Mercury, or any other named profanity. The man went in free, that having given his money he might come out a slave. Nay, rather, had he been free, he would not have gone in. But he entered whither his master, Error, and his mistress, Avarice, dragged him, whence also the truth says, every one that does sin is the slave of sin. John chapter 8, verse 34. Why then did he say, my hour is not yet come? Rather because having it in his power when to die, he did not yet see it fit to use that power. Just as we, brethren, say, for example, now is the appointed hour for us to go out to celebrate the sacraments. If we go out before it is necessary, do we not act perversely and absurdly? And because we act only at the proper time, do we therefore in this action regard fate when we so express ourselves? What means then, my hour is not yet come? when I know that it is a fitting time for me to suffer, when my suffering will be profitable, then I will willingly suffer. That hour is not yet, that you may preserve both. This, my hour is not yet come, and that I have power to lay down my life and power to take it again. He had come then, having it in his power when to die, and surely it would not have been right here were he to die before he had chosen disciples. Had he been a man who had not this hour in his own power, he might have died before he had chosen disciples. And if haply he had died when his disciples were now chosen and instructed, it would be something conferred on him, not his own doing. But on the contrary, he who had come, having in his power when to go, when to return, how far to advance, and for whom the regions of the grave were open, not only when dying but when rising again. He, I say, in order to show us his church's hope of immortality, showed in the head what it behoved the members to expect. For he who has risen again in the head will also rise again in all his members. The hour then had not yet come, the fit time was not yet. Disciples had to be called, the kingdom of heaven to be proclaimed, the Lord's divinity to be shown forth in miracles, and his humanity in his very sympathy with mortal men. For he who hungered because he was man fed so many thousands with 5 loaves because he was God. He who slept because he was man commanded the winds and the waves because he was God. All these things had first to be set forth, that the evangelist might have whereof to write, that there might be what should be preached to the church. But when he had done as much as he judged to be sufficient, then his hour came, not of necessity but of will, not of condition but of power. What then, brethren? Because we have replied to these and those, shall we say nothing as to what the water pot signify, what the water turned into wine, what the master of the feast, what the bridegroom, what in mystery the mother of Jesus, what the marriage itself? We must speak of all these, but we must not burden you. I would have preached to you in Christ's name yesterday also, when the usual sermon was due to you, my beloved, but I was hindered by certain necessities. If you please then, holy brethren, let us defer until tomorrow what pertains to the hidden meaning of this translation, and not burden both you and our own weakness. There are many of you perhaps who have today come together on account of the solemnity of the day, not to hear the sermon. Let those who come tomorrow come to hear, so that we may not defraud those who are eager to learn, nor burden those who are fastidious.